Okay, it looks like we're online. I'm just waiting to see stream health. And we're displaying, and we're sharing the screen on Jitsi. It's coming through in the live stream. Hello and welcome to this. Hello and welcome to part 9 of our ongoing series, creating a website with Python, Django, and Wagtail CMS. Just one more time. Hello and welcome to part 9 of our series of, one more time. Hello and welcome to part 9 of our series on creating a website with Python, Django, and Wagtail CMS. This series is hosted on Codebuddies.org. Codebuddies is a global community of code learners who help each other through conversations on Slack, peer-to-peer organized study groups, and virtual hangouts. We've been hosting a series of hangouts for Django and creating this Wagtail CMS website. There are other ongoing hangouts in different study groups almost on a daily basis, so it's quite a lot of activity. In terms of study groups, there are all sorts of topics here. We have everything from Python, Django, interview practice, test-driven design, Elixir, Golang, Java, Rust, GitHub, Android, web development, CSS, math, PHP, game development, AWS, how to teach code, pedagogy of code, and the list goes on. And a lot of these groups are pretty large and have ongoing activity. So everybody. What I appreciate about Codebuddies is we're all teachers and we're all learners, so we all have something to bring to the table, and it encourages not only teaching but collaboration and building projects together. There's also other channels. If you would like to get involved with the Codebuddies community, we can be found on Slack, community forum. The platform itself is open source on GitHub, and there's a Medium and YouTube channels to subscribe to content. So the core technologies we're going to be working with today, just briefly, Python programming language can be found at python.org. It's really robust, a lot of great libraries and great utilities in the standard library, really clean and easy syntax. It's really one of the languages, not the languages, coming to the forefront because it has so many diverse applications, and the syntax is so accessible by philosophy. The philosophy of the language encourages that things be readable and obvious. So I've been really glad to work with Python for about 1 year now, specifically when building websites. When web content platforms. The Django web framework will give you a lot of batteries included for many common tasks in web development. It's been under development for quite a while. It's got a pretty conservative release cycle, but it's known to be secure, scalable. Again, batteries included, very well documented, and it's run by a nonprofit foundation. So it's in good hands. And one of the things that Django is lacking is a content management framework. It doesn't really provide that out of the box. So along comes Wagtail. There's a couple of options in the Django ecosystem, but for this project, we went with Wagtail. Wagtail has a usability kind of on par with what you'd expect from a project like WordPress, or something that is designed to be very simple and intuitive for users and content managers. It's already in wide use by some prominent organizations and nonprofits, and it comes with a lot of innovative features, stream fields, so you can kind of combine different types of content in a string underneath. It's represented as a JSON object, I believe. Image handling with cropping and point of interest, tracking of analytics, and you can even integrate it with other types of applications. It's really quick to get started with Wagtail, only a few lines of code. There's a lot of great websites being made with it, and it's pretty well documented as well. Just noticed the project we're working on in this series is a new version of the Western Friend magazine website. Western Friend is a Quaker organization incorporated in the Western United States. It's been a publication going back to 1929 on all sorts of topics and contemporary events during that period. The primary offering of this project and website and organization is this magazine. We'll be getting into some of these other sections further down the road, but we've been focusing on the magazine index page, which consists or lists all the magazine issues. These Western Friend magazine issues have been published online going back to 2013, and that's just before I started. Maybe about 1 year before I became active on the project, and we moved over to Drupal. And prior to that, Friends Bulletin was published going back to 1929 as a paper publication, and that's all been digitized and is hosted on the Internet Archive. Really cool initiative, and we've integrated that into the website. So some of that we're going to be working with in this tutorial series as well. Looking at how to get these older scanned copies PDF display in line, but in the context of Wagtail. So we'll go back to the magazine index page and take a look at where we've got. Actually, we can step to the front page because our latest efforts have been to kind of build out this front page. So the front page has essentially a navigation menu and 2 rows. The first row has this editable text area where the editor can put any kind of information that's desirable, that is high priority. And the second row are 2 columns. On the left are featured articles, on the right is current issue and featured events. We haven't built out the events content type yet. We'll save that for a future live stream. And so we've managed to pretty much replicate that. We introduced the Bootstrap framework version 4. The Drupal website is using Bootstrap 3. The semantics of Bootstrap 4 are very similar to Bootstrap 3, so the process of migrating has been pretty easy. And the main reason we're sticking with Bootstrap is because of the community and documentation. It's just very large community, very well known, and has many contributors in the past year, so it's under active development by a diversity of people. The magazine index page is under work here. We've got a couple of example magazines locally. We've broken down the articles into categories, and we are able to feature specific articles. The aesthetic, we're not focusing so much on aesthetics so much as functionality, so we're keeping it plain, but introducing Bootstrap was a good step because it does give it sane defaults, or clean defaults for the fonts and things like that. This project is open source on GitHub, and we have just a few issues in the backlog, which we'll try to whittle through today, and that'll continue to grow as it's kind of an ad hoc way this project is being run. But basically, since I'm the core developer, I decided I'll just continue a mistake I made last week, which will actually simplify the development process. I will commit directly to the master branch and just keep track of work efforts as tasks. So we're kind of getting into a more proper development workflow, but I'm not really pursuing any formal or rigid development structure. At this point, there are no other developers, but just glad to be developing openly on GitHub. So that's it. Let's hop to the code. We'll take, this is actually a low-hanging fruit. But let's take a look at this. So I'm going to close out these other tabs, give us some space to work. checking the live stream, see if there's any chat messages there. I am watching the live stream chat. I might miss your message if you send something. I do apologize if that's the case, but do be brave and feel free to ask anything or make any comments or suggestions for how I can improve the code or the live stream. And if you're watching this after the live stream, after the fact, you can feel free to comment on the video in the comments section. So the WF website project has two apps right now, Home and Magazine. Let's go ahead and look at the Home template for the home page. Basically, it's a Bootstrap class. The base HTML, the base template, which we extend here, has a container that wraps this content block. So that gives us the ability to do Bootstrap's grid system. And by default, Bootstrap is going to sort of intelligently or use percentage-based divisions. When you have multiple columns, it's going to divide it evenly unless you specify a column width. Let's go ahead and define this column XS. Let's do like a 7. Not sure how much. Oh, this is the home page. So actually, small was fine. Let's do A4. See how that looks. It's a little better. That way it gives it, the text and the feature articles a little bit more room to spread out. That way it doesn't take up as much vertical space. This current issue does get broken. I think that's going to happen in either case. 7.5. Well, I kind of like the way it is here, 7.5. So again, I'm just committing right to master branch and closing issues as I complete them. And here I said 8.4, but went with 7.5. Aspect ratio. So this is partially so we'll have a record of the work we've done and when we did it and some of the decisions, the rationale. And also the editor for this magazine, Mary Colleen Klein, is the sort of product owner here on GitHub. So I think she gets these notifications when work gets complete. So let's see. Now that was an easy low-hanging fruit. This is also a low-hanging fruit since we haven't gotten any sort of interest in this. So let's go and take care of that. So when I look at the home page and I edit that, there's this title field here. And right now it just says home, but it could just say welcome. Publish. Let's go ahead and add that. I don't know if it needs to be in the row. There it is. Now that's strange that it's offset. I think it's, if I put it in the row, what happens? I've had this problem before. It should be an H1 on this page. Huh. Weird. I don't like this. I think this wraps it just in a div. No, it's a P in a div, rich text. So the P should have block formatting. That's what this H1. Getting sprawled out like that. That turned out to be harder than I expected. In the container, in the row. Well, I'm just going to move it out of this row. I don't think the row is the right way to go. What's with that? What's it here? Everything else is justified here, but this doesn't have any left. Margin? Where's the box model? So 0. That's 0. Well, let me see if I can. I mean, this is the same problem. Maybe I don't need a row class. Oops. I did it. Okay. Well, I like that. It's cleaner. Less is more. So we just need the row where I need columns. This is still a little bit awkward. The indentation coming through, but whatever. about that. Okay, well, that was a couple of low-hanging fruit tasks. Normally, the pull request is nice because it links the task changes. Actually, maybe I should just continue doing this the proper way and creating pull requests for each of these issues. Let's see. So I tried renaming the homepage body, but that was a little bit of like wrestling an alligator because I've already run migrations, so I think I will leave that alone for now. But what we can do is put in more content and work on splitting out archive and recent issues on the official website, which I've closed. Should be open. Essentially, the model, the business model for Western Friend, well, it's a nonprofit, but it needs some revenue, and it's a subscription-based sort of magazine. So what they settled on, and I think this is really, in my opinion, a really nice way of providing this content to the public, is for the first 6 months, subscribers have priority access to the latest, the recent issues, and they can read the full articles and things like that. Everything older than 6 months is what is called the archive. The general public can access all of these, and these go back to 2013 for the Western Friend magazine, and again 1929 for the Deep Archive. So it doesn't quite default to open, but the majority of it is open. It's kind of accelerated public domain, although it's not technically licensed public domain, but we're in discernment about content licensing now. So what we'll build out today is just a way of separating recent articles from archive issues, maybe putting them into a nice grid. Let's do that first. This has been interesting. I guess it'll be a 3-wide grid, repeating. Just trying to think how I'll do that. Maybe I should think about that a little bit longer. The pagination is another thing. That's good. I think that's going to be default in code. You have to configure the number per page. Yeah, let's leave that out. Okay, so got a couple more issues over the horizon. I don't think this is a trivial issue. Oops. Okay, cool. Okay, so for historic purposes, I'm going to go into a branch from master. I'll do them both in one branch. Okay. So basically, first we'll just need some more content. I already saved that one. And yeah, it looks like pagination's at 3. At some point, I'll probably want to write a general way of inserting it, some dummy data, or not dummy data, but actually these issues programmatically. Because not only do we need issues, but we need a few articles for things to work. So we got on children, on mixture, add magazine issue, bosses, the publication date, July 1st. Cover image. We're not going to feature any articles. We're not going to add any articles for that. Okay, before that was on consumption from May 2013. 2013, that's right. I skipped to the. Dang it. So we're doing 6 paginated. Let me just peek this real quick. How are we doing that? Oh, not that. See how we got these rows to wrap it to begin with. Inspect. Sorry, I warn you, this is Drupal markup. So we'll be having some diva-itis. TD. TD. So I guess it's just no, they table row. So it's doing it as a table. I think that if I put these in Bootstrap with a certain column width, it will wrap them for me. Probably the table row and table will be unnecessary at that point. All right, give it a try later. Save image as. And I'll grab 6 of them so we can test this wrapping. But not ready for pagination yet. I can test pagination on 3 as well as 6. Okay. May 1st, 2018. Upload that. March. So, yep. November 2017. This is kind of a nice date picking widget as well. November 1st. A year ago. September. Oops. First. Oh, darn it. Saved it. Great. And now one more on politics. Dun dun dun. July 1st, 2017. Upload the image. Awesome. Awe-inspiring. Cool. Now let's go back here. And everything is in order. Now that I've mentioned it, I'm going to just try really quickly to see if I can have Bootstrap sort these. So if we go to the magazine index page, oops, not migration, to the magazine index page, and I put these just in a div column small 4. Inside of that div. And indentation gets a mess when I paste. Is that correct? 4 in 4 div. There we go. See what happens. Ready? No. We're not in a row, I think. If this is the case, that it'll work. It'll make my work easier. When I split this out into 2 rows, basically. Oh, good. That is really nice. Simple grid. Man, all right, let me just think here. Go ahead and commit these changes. It didn't quite close the issue. Yet, but it will. So I'll be able to close 3 issues with this pull request. Maybe a pagination, I could look at that. And this I'll just leave. Okay, this is good to commit though. Here is to modify the data context for this magazine index page. We've done this once before in the model. You can write a function. It's like get context to right here. And in that function, you get the parent context. The context is essentially what data gets passed into the model for rendering. And then you can assign, it's a dictionary, so you can assign other key value pairs to that. So we'll do the same thing for the magazine index page. And it's a request, args, quargs, kind of funny word. So context equals super.get context moves request. Oh man, it's not auto completing that. All right. What we want to create are going to be two things. So yeah, in JavaScript a little bit still. So. I want to use some set operation here to make sure those are mutually exclusive. Let me make sure my terminology is correct. Recent issues is what we're looking at. Archive issues. Okay, so this looks good. Let's try this. So context. Recent issues equals. So I'm going to have to read the docs of it, but it's essentially page. It's magazine issues. No, it's the page child. So magazine issue objects that are child of this live and some filter string. And then we should order by publication date in descending order. Okay, I have to work out the details, but that's pretty much what we're going to be doing. So let's just try typing this out to improve the muscle memory. Child of self live. These are showing the correct order because I added them in that order. But it's possible that these will get added out of order, so they should be ordered by. There's a way, I don't know if you can use new lines here, but there's a way to make these type of lines easier to read. Well, one thing is that all magazine issues should be a child of this, so I can probably drop this. Hopefully this won't introduce a bug. If somebody inadvertently adds a magazine issue, it's not a child of that, but we've constrained the places you can add magazine issues to only being on the magazine index page. If you look here, parent page type of magazine index page. So I think we're safe to drop that as child of. Because we'll only have one magazine index page. It's going to be GT. We'll need a range. We'll need to get the date 6 months ago. I think if we've done that in this project, I think I've done that recently, but it's not fresh in my memory. Use a time delta. That's from 2015, though. Time delta 3.1. It takes an argument. It doesn't support. It supports days. I guess because months are a variable length. So I guess we can do 12 weeks. All right. So we'll kind of mix and match. It's not going to import it for me. Oh, we did a time delta. Oh, yeah. Take a look at that real quick. I can do it like this. We should be good to go. I have to return to context at least so the page has something to render. But in any case, what we want to do is just test this out. And I don't know how to import it into Python console. Yeah, so that's right. Subtracting a negative. So adding. Okay, here, if I just do like that. There we go. Cool, I like that. Let's see. I'll leave that. And so on a magazine issue, we have a publication date field filter. Let these groups of Django book out and see how to make this a little bit more readable. Either break it into parts. It's a little bit better. And in the field double under. GT. All right. Field not in strings. Let's see if this works. If I just change this, refresh that. I think that works. And what the problem here is that on Mixture, November 1st, 2018, probably doesn't have a publication date on Mixture. It does. Oh, it's right there. Excuse me. On bosses, July 1st. The publication date is after that threshold. That was active. I'll have to talk with Mary about that, but I think the idea is to have three latest issues. And I think it would be logical to have them based on that date field. We'll talk to Mary about that. That's my math stuff. I'm not good at math, even arithmetic. I suck. We need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that's 6 months. Yeah. But we can't be so simple. Let me see what our threshold is here. We've probably had this 200 days. Well, that's easy enough. I think we've discussed that. All right, simple fix. Good thing we've got this existing site as a reference. Makes my work a lot easier. I don't have to think so hard. Very good. Now, to create the archive issues, it's just inverting that LT. And this is really simple. I don't want it to be equals to. Less than archive threshold. Really, if I want, I can make these mutually exclusive so that there's less code. But at least we're sharing the archive threshold, so perhaps I can just leave it alone. What happened to my... Excuse me. All right, so we got archive issues. Yeah. Could be not in PK. This is really cool. You can perform set operations. Yeah, in fact, let's do that. We got all of the issues. Darn it. So recent issues is that. think you just used not. So they can be multiple query sets. This is really cool. All right, so these should now be mutually exclusive, and I can change the template. So this is correct. And we'll just take another row. We're at H2. Okay. By not allowed in subqueries of compound statements. Oh man. I don't even understand that. Well, maybe I'm out clevering myself. Let me see if this works. Yeah, I'm basically out clevering myself. Okay, now we're good to go. We just got a little bit of problems with floats. Floating. This is not block element. Not being treated as a block element. That should be H3 now. Oh, that was nice. Oh, their cards note, yeah. Yeah, let's try it out. Let's see what Mary thinks of it. All right, so following this, we need a div, class, card, and I'm going to keep the column in here as well. Let's see if that'll work. And then it's showing the image next, which is pretty cool. Like that. Inside, so the image just itself takes a, well, there's that. I'm not generating the image, it's being auto-generated for me. Bummer. We're really at Wagtail 2 now. Three. Okay, you can pass it in there. I like that. Before or after? Yeah. Now we need a panel body, which we have here. It's H3, can go inside of the body. And it's not really a panel body, it's going to be a card body. My indentation. And then the card title. And then text. Let's see if we can put it up. It's a little bit overkill. Oof. Six. Well, that at least works. Who else have this problem? I think it looks like it's the opposite. Oh, that's kludgy, but okay, there we go. Didn't even work. Take it. Hmm. I'll fix that. All right, so we got recent issues and archive issues. Let's put this card markup in place. And I'm just going to copy this whole thing to save some typing, because it's really just one difference. One line of code different. Not indented, is it? In my model, I want to do this order by location date in reverse. With that, and then we have just a little bit of cleanup. That's actually Python date format, but anyway. Now we're just going to change our date formatting slightly to show the month. Instead of full, it'll be truncated to 3. So that things are consistent. Layout. May, June. Oh, there's still. MT3. All right, that gives a little bit of pleasing spacing between them. 5. Oof. 4. Yeah, there's that way it's roughly the same here and there. So good. We got a pleasing grid using the new Bootstrap cards. Things aren't getting skewed too badly here. Let's see if it's in 400 is all right. It's the same. Ooh. What's going on here? That's not pleasing. Working this scale. What the heck is going on? Full screen. Maybe if I just refresh the page. Dang. One thing I can make it 4 wide. I'll fix it. Oh, it's a little better. Still squishing it a little bit. Add a little bit of margin on the bottom. All right, well, I think that's good enough for now. And one thing we want these all to be links. Man, I think this aspect ratio is going to come back. I'll have to work that out. Huh. So no recent issues. Issue. Good. Yeah, it's definitely skewing the aspect ratio. Ah, it's annoying. Man. That works. Okay. A lot of learnings in this one. Okay. Well, it's not that big deal. Okay, grid. That's a question of images. We got links. Got truncated dates for consistency in the layout. We're going 3 wide, 4 wide on larger screens. I think that's pretty good progress, and it's minimal kind of markup, or in other words, just applying the cards doesn't introduce too much visual clutter. And it looks magazine-y. I mean, yeah. Wonder if this would be better on top. Can't really do that with the image cap, it looks like. I thought I did see an example of that. One card with an image cap and a title, but yeah, not a big deal. Let's get the footer. Well, it looks good. I'll call it good. It's quite a large commit. Let's see what all we've done. A couple of files modified. This is pretty well commented, I think. I'm comfortable with that code. So get the original context that kind of self-describes, self-documents. Number of days for archive threshold, giving a meaningful name and telling them the use, more specifically why this is used. Archive threshold. We're actually setting the threshold using the time delta. And I think I'll just do that inline instead of using the placeholder. surprised that's still working, but it's all right. Yeah, it's pretty easy to read that way. Let's see if that still works. Maybe all. Oh, dang. We'll have to be a little more precise with our dates. We're still gonna have this problem with the irregular month lengths. This is more or less self-descriptive, but since we're using, I just wanted to put it in plain language since we're using kind of syntaxy stuff. It's a little bit denser. All right. All right. Dang it. Oh, gosh dang it. Bummer. I can't amend the commit. Okay, so we created a new branch on GitHub. Just going to peek the issues again. So we're looking at 18, 7, and 6. Okay, so now I've done it properly. I've got the work under a separate branch from master. And that allows us to kind of have a historic perspective of what changed relating to what issues. And then just doing my best to explain the code in context. Python's pretty clean language, but even then, some of the stuff we're doing isn't obvious. It's maybe obvious how it works to people, but not maybe why things work. So you got to use, meaningful names to kind of explain what your thinking is, what your thought process is. Really enjoying the Bootstrap styling. It's pretty easy to use. A couple gotchas along the way, but nothing really like a deal breaker. This H100 was a nice solution to get these issues to display with the correct aspect ratio. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, that's, yeah, going to be a problem regardless that we can't have a perfect grid. Okay. Not a big deal. It's understandable. Other than that, it's pretty clean. And since it's hopefully a rarer exception than the months, if spelling those months out was going to create more awkward layout. So we think it's permissible. I don't think we should truncate this to a certain number of characters. Yeah. Yeah, it's just really an edge case. I think it's barely noticeable. Great. All right. Well, thank you very much for checking out this live stream. Again, we're active on codebuddies.org and really hope to build out more of these kind of groups and host more hangouts. So anybody's welcome to host a hangout. You can schedule one. They can be silent hangout where you just chill and do your work, or they can be teaching hangouts where you introduce people to a code base or some sort of concept or practice, or collaborative hangouts where you work together to solve problems. I've been hosting these collaborative hangouts on building a Django Wagtail CMS website from scratch, which you're watching today. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.